Good morning, dear students. We are moving on to our last session, that is last session of this water pollution, that is eutrophication. Okay, eutrophication. We had already discussed about this eutrophication, isn't it? Eutrophication means it is a slow aging process of the water bodies, isn't it? Eutrophication, it is a slow aging process of water body. And also see here how this eutrophication happens is that when a very high concentration of nutrients, that is from the fertilizers etc., when they are washed off from the land to the water bodies, what happens? Normally this nutrients means it will be having a higher content of nitrate as well as phosphate. Okay, NO3 minus and PO4 3 minus, nitrates and phosphates. And when this higher concentration of nutrients, when it reaches the water bodies, what happens? This will be resulting in the excessive growth of algae. Excessive growth of algae as well as water plants. Okay, algae and weeds etc. in the water bodies, and gradually this algae etc. they will die and they will be decomposing. Okay, they will die and decompose, and then therefore they will after decomposition of this algae, what happens? This for the decomposition or for the bacterial decomposition, what happens? It requires oxygen, and as a result more amount of oxygen will be used up for this decomposition process. Okay, so this decomposition, it depletes the amount of oxygen present in the water bodies. Okay, and as a result what happens? Gradually what happens? This water bodies will be leading to natural death. Okay, or the slow aging will be going on in the case of water bodies. Okay, and also this process gets speed up due to the human activities or the anthropogenic activities. This process will be speeded up by the human activities, normally from the industries etc. So much amount of nitrates as well as phosphates are dumping off to the water bodies, resulting in the excess growth of algae and water weeds. Then after that it will be dying and decomposition takes place. So much amount of oxygen will be consumed for the decomposition of this algae, and thus leads to the depletion of oxygen in the water body. So a natural aging will be taking place to the water bodies and leading to eutrophication. Okay, normally the life cycle of a lake, normally it is oligotrophic. Life cycle of a lake is oligotrophic. See, oligotrophic means this is that particular term means it is a clear body of water. Oligotrophic means it is a clear body of water. That is the classification like oligotrophic. It is based on the amount of nutrients present in the water body or the amount of nutrients present in the lake. This classification, it is based on the amount of nutrients present in the lake. Normally oligotrophic means it will be having a low nutrient content. Oligotrophic means it will be having a low nutrient content. And also then another category, I will be dealing with this classification. Then the second category, that is the meso. This is not given in your textbook, just for the sake of your knowledge. So oligotrophic means it has got low nutrient content. Then mesotropic means it has got a medium nutrient content. Then eutrophic means it has got a high nutrient content. Okay, high nutrient content, eutrophic. Then one more category is there, that is the hypereutrophic. Hypereutrophic means very high nutrient content supply. Okay, very high supply of nutrients. So these are the classification based on the amount of nutrients present in the water body. So this hypereutrophic means that particular water body, it is in the dead zone. Okay, it is in the dead zone. So this is the major classification, and normally the life cycle of a lake, it starts with the oligotrophic. That means it is a clear body of water and which is having low nutrient content. Okay, Then again, this enrichment of water by these nutrients, it is due to two process: enrichment of water bodies by nutrients. Enrichment of water bodies by nutrients. It can be, this enrichment can be going on, or the process is going on mainly by two process. That is, the first one, it is a natural process. That is, when the nutrients from the land, it is washed off to the rivers, gradually it will be leads to this enrichment of nutrients in the water bodies. And the second classification, that is, or the second enrichment, it is through the cultural or anthropogenic. Cultural or anthropogenic. Cultural or anthropogenic eutrophication. Okay, so here this natural means it is just a natural process. The nutrients are washed off from the land. But in the case of cultural or anthropogenic, see the term anthropo means it is the reason for this, it will be human beings, isn't it? So anthropogenic means it is due to the activity of human beings. The nutrients will be the nutrient level will be high. Nutrient level will be high in the case of this water bodies. Okay, so these are the two types of eutrophication: natural as well as anthropogenic or cultural eutrophication. Okay, so here this cultural eutrophication, this anthropogenic or cultural eutrophication, it is due to the soil erosion or excessive use of fertilizers. Excessive use of fertilizers. Then it can be from sewage. Then it can be from industrial waste. See, all these are the result of the human activities on environment, isn't it? So these are some of the reasons for this anthropogenic or cultural eutrophication. Okay, so these are the two types of eutrophication: natural as well as cultural or anthropogenic. Okay, then the next topic, that is the effects of eutrophication. Hope up to this you had written. Next is the effects of eutrophication. We can discuss the effects of eutrophication in some definite points. Okay. See, first one, that is, as a result of the eutrophication or the excessive nutrients in the water bodies, what happens? It will be increasing the algal growth, isn't it? It will be increasing the algal growth, and this algal growth, while this algae is grown on the water bodies in excess amount, what happens is that it will be releasing toxic chemicals into the water bodies. Okay, it will be releasing toxic chemicals into the water bodies, and these toxic chemicals, it will be harmful to the fishes and other aquatic organisms. These toxic chemicals, it will be harmful to fishes and other aquatic organisms present in the water body. Okay, so that is the first point, the after effects of eutrophication. Second one, again the case of algal growth. Again, due to the algal growth, what happens? It leads to depletion of oxygen. It leads to depletion of oxygen, that we had discussed already. Depletion of oxygen, as well as and also a higher amount of carbon dioxide will be present in water as a result of this excessive algal growth. And this high percentage of carbon dioxide means it will be harmful to the water bodies, or it will be leads to the death of organisms present in the water bodies. Okay, so that is the second point, algal growth leading to depletion of oxygen and high percentage of carbon dioxide. Okay, then the third one, that is anaerobic conditions will be created inside the water bodies. Anaerobic conditions means it will be that particular water body, it will be depleting, or it will be having the oxygen content zero. Okay, anaerobic condition means it will be the oxygen presence will be zero. The oxygen presence will not be there. Okay, or oxygen content will be zero in the case of anaerobic condition. So what happens is that the water is in lack of oxygen, and however it has to found out some amount of oxygen. For that, this as a result of eutrophication, this nitrates as well as phosphates, then sulfates, etc. will be there in the water bodies, isn't it? See, this nitrates, it is having oxygen. See, NO3 minus or HNO3, it will be having oxygen present in it. So what happens is that by the reduction of nitrates, oxygen will be liberated. Okay. So thereby this water body will be acquiring some amount of oxygen. Later on, sulfates will be there in the water bodies, and from so after the reduction of nitrate is completed, or when the reduction of nitrate, when complete nitrate it is reduced, and oxygen is generated, and that particular oxygen, it will be used in the decomposition of this algae, etc. Then after that, this nitrate, the amount of nitrate will not be sufficiently there. So what happens then? The sulfates present in this water bodies, it will be reduced. Okay, so the sulfates on reduction, it will also liberates oxygen to the water bodies. So what happens is that when sulfates is reduced, the byproducts, or one of the product formed, it will be hydrogen sulfide. Okay, hydrogen sulfide. So you all know about the smell of this hydrogen sulfide, that is, it is having a foul smell, isn't it? It has got in chemistry we will be saying that it has got a smell of rotten eggs. Okay, so this hydrogen sulfide produced, it will be having a foul smell, and thus water is that particular water body, it is completely polluted. Okay, so this is the third case, that is anaerobic conditions were created inside the water body. That means anaerobic condition means the oxygen content will be 0. So in order for obtaining oxygen, the nitrates present in the water body, it will be reduced, so that oxygen is produced. So after the complete reduction of nitrates, then sulfates will be reduced. Again sulfates will be reduced, again oxygen will be generated. Then afterwards, this sulfates, what happens when reduced, one of the products will be hydrogen sulfide, and it will be having a very foul smell. Okay, so as a result, that particular water body is polluted. So that is the third after effect of eutrophication. And also in the case of anaerobic conditions, this pathogenic microorganisms will also be developed. That is the next point. That is, again in the case of anaerobic conditions, pathogenic microorganisms will also be developed inside the water body. So that means pathogenic microorganisms, it can be viruses, bacteria, protozoa, etc. These are some of the pathogenic microorganisms, and as a result of the presence of these pathogenic microorganisms, some waterborne diseases will be spread. Some of the waterborne diseases, for example, the dysentery, polio, it is not a waterborne disease, I think. Polio, polio, dysentery, then diarrhea, typhoid, etc. Will be developed. Okay, so some of the waterborne diseases will be there as a result of this anaerobic conditions. So that is the fourth after effect or ill effect of this eutrophication. Okay, then the next is this the presence of algae as well as this weeds. Okay, algae and weeds will be grown in excess in water bodies, and as a result of this algae and these weeds, they will be having very enormous amount of roots, isn't it? So these roots, normally it will be interfere, or it will be disturbing the hydroelectric power projects, etc. Okay, if it is in the case of a dam, it will be interfering the hydroelectric projects, etc. And also it will be blocking the filters also. Okay, it will be blocking the filters. So that is another ill effect of this eutrophication. The roots of algae as well as weeds, it will be interfering the hydroelectric power projects, as well as it will be blocking the filters also. That is the fifth point. Okay. So these are some of the ill effects of eutrophication. You have to write one by one. That is, sometimes it might be asked like this: what is eutrophication? What are the ill effects of eutrophication? Okay. So you have to remember all these points. Okay. The first two, it is regarding the algal growth. Second one, algal growth leading to toxic chemicals and depletion of oxygen. Then anaerobic conditions, 2 points are there. Then the last one, the roots of algae and weeds, it will be interfering the hydroelectric projects as well as it blocks the filters. Okay. Then the last session, that is the restoration of lakes. Restoration of lakes, that is how this lakes can be rejuvenated. Okay, restoration of lakes. So first point, how we can restore the lakes. That means several methods are used for this restoration of lakes. The first one, that is the precipitation of phosphates. Precipitation of phosphates present in lakes. That is due to the excess nutrients, this aging process is going on. So for that, these lakes sometimes they are filled with phosphates, isn't it? So that the phosphates have to be precipitated by using some other chemicals. Okay, with the help of some chemicals, these phosphates can be precipitated. Okay, so for so some of the chemicals used for the precipitation, normally calcium ions are used, then aluminium Al3+, then Fe2+, etc. These are some of the ions used for the precipitation. So while we are using calcium salt, this phosphate will be precipitated as calcium phosphate. So a solid will be separated out, and this solid will it will be depositing inside the lake. Okay, this phosphates, thus we can precipitate the phosphates as calcium phosphate or aluminium phosphate. Then it will be deposited deep inside the lake. But one of the disadvantages is that this process, it is not suitable for shallow lakes. Okay, it can be used only for deep lakes. It cannot be used for shallow lakes. It can be used only for deep lakes. Since this precipitated phosphate, it has to be sedimented, or it has to be deposited very deep inside the lake itself. Okay, so that is the first process of restoration of lakes, that is precipitation of phosphate using some common chemicals. Okay, or some local chemicals. Then the second one is the removal of sediments. Removal of sediment. Sometimes you have seen the cleaning of rivers or lakes usually, isn't it? Small ponds or small ponds, we can do it easily, isn't it? We can remove the sediments and also this process, it is a very expensive one, isn't it? And also it is a tedious process, this removal of sediments. This is an expensive method, and also it can be used only for small lakes. It cannot be done for bigger lakes, etc. Removal of sediments, that means the deposits are removed from the water bodies. That is the second one. Then the third one, that is the use of algicides. Use of algicides, that is by using some biocides, that is by using some chemicals, we can prevent the growth of algae. Okay, so this algicides, they prevents the growth of algae. Prevents the growth of algae. Prevents the growth of algae. So for this, as an algicide, this copper salt are used. Copper salt are used as an algicide. Copper salt are used as an algicide. But one of the harmful effect of using copper salt is that this copper salt, it is toxic in a sense. Okay, so the toxicity of copper, it will be again destroying the lake. Okay, this toxicity of copper, it will be killing the aquatic organisms or aquatic living organisms. So this will be contaminating. This copper will be again contaminating the water bodies. But so the use of algicides, to a small extent, it is okay. It prevents the growth of algae, but in the case of algicides, copper salts are there. This copper salt are toxic to the aquatic organisms. Okay, so anyway, it will be contaminating the water bodies, and therefore we cannot use it to a high extent. Okay, it will be contaminating the water bodies. It will be contaminating the water bodies. Okay, then the next one, the fourth one, that is the coverage of sediments by clay. Coverage of sediments by clay. See here, the sediments are sealed with the help of clay. Okay, the sediments are sealed with the help of clay. That means it is covered using clay. Okay, so this is a more cost-effective method. The sediments coverage of sediments by clay, it is a more cost-effective method, and also it can be used for small to medium lakes. It can be applied on small to medium sized lakes. Okay, so that is the fourth method of restoration of lakes, that is coverage of sediments by clay. Then the fifth one, that is shading by trees. Shading by trees. See here, shading by trees means at the shore of the lakes or rivers, the trees can be planted. Okay, trees can be planted, and also this is suitable for small lakes. Okay, the trees can be planted at the sides of this rivers or whatever water bodies are there. Trees can be planted there, so it will be somewhat, it will be absorbing some of the nutrients, isn't it, without reaching the water bodies. That is how it can protect the water body. Okay, normally it can be applicable for small lakes, but gradually we can do it for bigger lakes also, isn't it? And the next point, that is the sixth one, that is the construction of wetlands. Construction of wetlands. That means this wetlands means the wetlands are the places where, in which the land meets water. Okay, again it is the wetlands are the place where the land meets water body. Okay, so at that place we can create a wetland. That means at this place the nutrients which are washed off by the washed off from the land, it can be put aside here at the wetlands, and there from that portion this nutrients will be accumulated at the wetlands. So it will prevent the nutrients from reaching the lakes or rivers or water bodies. Okay, so construction of wetlands near the rivers or lakes, it is also another a nice method for prevention or the restoration, for the restoration of the water bodies. Okay, so these are the 6 methods for restoration of lakes. First one, precipitation of phosphate in the lakes. Second one, removal of sediments. Third one, use of algicides. Fourth one, coverage of sediments by clay. Then fifth one, shading by trees. And the sixth one, construction of wetlands. Okay, so your portions are over. That is, I had to teach you only 2 modules. The first module, environmental components, and the second one, that is the water pollution. So the portions are finished. Now it is your duty to study these portions thoroughly. The videos will be there in the classroom itself, so you can go through the videos at any point. And also for 1 or 2 weeks the videos will be there. After that I will be changing the settings. So if any one of you skipped the videos, you have to complete the videos. Okay, complete the videos, and also you have to write the lecture notes as well. Okay, and also one more thing, today I had got admission duty at college and I had to go there. So you do one thing, you have to watch the video, and at the same time write the lecture notes. And after watching the video, that is at 12:30, it will be finished. Both the videos will be finished at 12:30 or 12:40, I think. The first video, it has got a 40 minutes duration, and the second video, it is having a 23-minute duration or 22-minute duration. So so total 1 hour will be there. Okay, so after watching the video, while watching the video, you have to write the lecture notes as well. And after watching this video, that is at 12:30 or 12:40, whatever time it be, you have to take the photographs and you have to upload it in Google Classroom. Okay, in our classroom, so that I can ensure that you had gone through the video. Okay, so please do it, and after doing it only, I will be giving you attendance. Okay, so for today's attendance, you have to upload your lecture notes. Then only I will be giving you attendance. Okay, and also I will be giving some extra time for uploading the lecture notes. That is, I will be giving a time up to 10 p.m. today night. Okay, so till that time you can upload the video, and only after that I will be giving you attendance. Okay, if any one of you has got any difficulty in watching the video or any problem, you can call me. No need of messaging, you had to call me. Okay, then that is only that is the thing. And also you have to study these portions thoroughly. And also this open courses are a topic which you can get secure full marks. Okay, so please don't avoid these portions. You have to go through all these topics and you have to study it thoroughly. You can obtain marks very easily for these chapters. Okay, and also it is very simple also. You had studied it in your English as well as in your plus 1 plus 2 classes also. So please don't avoid these portions. Okay, and also have a nice examinations also. For your internal examinations you will be having all these 2 chapters as well. Okay, so all the very best for you. Thank you.